Welcome back everyone to our channel where we dive deep into the world of coins, rare discoveries, hidden treasures, and the incredible stories behind pieces of metal that most people pass around daily without a second thought. And today we are about to uncover one of the most astonishing stories in numismatic history. The legendary 1977 quarter dollar that has captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike because of its staggering valuation of $16 million due entirely to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances that transformed what was originally just a regular piece of pocket change into one of the rarest and most desirable coins in existence. And in this journey we are going to peel back every layer of mystery surrounding this particular coin, why it commands such an astronomical value, what specific errors make it stand out from millions of its kind, the theories and stories that fuel its legend, and the possibilities of how such a coin could have come into existence. Because coins with errors are like tiny time capsules that tell us something went wrong at the mint, but sometimes that wrong becomes so spectacularly rare that it turns right in the eyes of collectors who are willing to pay fortunes to own them. And the 1977 quarter dollar is a perfect example of this phenomenon. A coin struck at the Denver Mint during a year when quarters were being produced in the hundreds of millions, but one particular coin has managed to break away from the crowd and write its own chapter in history, not because of its design, which remained the familiar Washington quarter with George Washington's bust on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, but because something happened in the minting process that created a combination of anomalies so unique, so visually captivating, and so rare that experts believe only a handful, or perhaps even just one, escaped into the public domain, and once it surfaced the collecting world was never the same. So what makes this quarter so valuable? Let's break it down. First, we have to look at the potential errors it carries, beginning with one of the most striking features reported on this coin, a dramatic double die obverse, where Washington's profile and the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1977 appear doubled in a way that is clearly visible even to the naked eye, not the faint mechanical doubling often seen on lower-tier error coins, but a true hub doubling that gives the portrait a ghost-like effect and makes the lettering look as though it has been stamped twice, and this alone would already create a desirable coin among error enthusiasts. But the 1977 quarter doesn't stop there, because in addition to the doubled obverse, reports suggest that the mint mark D itself is misaligned and punched in a strange tilted position far closer to the date than usual, almost touching the number 7. And this unusual placement is significant because the mint mark punches in that era were still done manually, which means inconsistencies are possible, but such an extreme misplacement combined with the double die already creates a coin worth many thousands. Yet the story continues, because collectors examining this particular specimen noticed it was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning instead of being struck on the standard copper-nickel clad composition that had been in use since 1965, it appears to have been accidentally struck on a leftover 40% silver-clad planchet, which should not have existed in 1977 at all, since those were only used for special coins in earlier years. So if true, this would make the coin not just a double die, not just a mis-punched mint mark variety, but also an off-metal error. And off-metal errors are among the most valuable of all because they result from rare and highly unlikely mistakes during production. And if that was not enough evidence of its uniqueness, the quarter also reportedly shows slight misalignment in strike, giving it an off-center look where the rim is thicker on one side and thinner on the other. And these multiple errors stacked on top of each other create the perfect storm for rarity. But even beyond the technical aspects, there is the aura of legend surrounding this coin, because whenever a coin like this emerges, it ignites debates in the collecting community. People ask how many could exist. Was it intentional or purely accidental? Could a mint worker have had a hand in allowing such a coin to escape, or was it simply an extraordinary stroke of chance that one in hundreds of millions turned out like this? And such questions only add to its allure, because mystery fuels desire and desire fuels price. And that's why today the 1977 D quarter in question has been valued at an unbelievable $16 million when it surfaced in high-grade condition. Likely preserved carefully since the time of minting because most coins that circulate heavily lose the sharpness of their details, and error features can become worn down. But this particular specimen appears to have survived with crisp doubling, clear mid-mark misplacement, and visible off-metal traits, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. And when it crossed the auction block, it sent shockwaves across the numismatic world, with wealthy collectors and investors competing to own not just a coin, but a piece of American minting history unlike any other. And in reflecting on why such a coin reaches these astronomical values, we have to consider that coins are more than metal. They are history, art, accident, rarity, and demand all rolled into one. And when a single coin checks all the boxes by combining multiple dramatic errors, a backstory that connects to minting quirks of the era, and an aura of being the only known example, then the sky is the limit for its value. And this is what makes the 1977 D quarter dollar so fascinating. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary looking pocket change could hide secrets worth millions, and this idea excites collectors everywhere to keep searching through their change, through old jars of coins, through inherited collections from relatives, because no one knows when the next extraordinary discovery will surface, and perhaps even someone watching right now could stumble upon a coin that seems slightly off and realize later it is worth a fortune. So the story of the 1977 D quarter teaches us about the importance of paying attention to detail, learning about errors like double dies, off-center strikes, off-metal planchets, mispunched mid-marks, and transitional anomalies, because the more knowledge one has, the greater the chance of identifying hidden treasures. And beyond the technicalities, it also reflects human curiosity and the drive to collect, to preserve, and to treasure something rare. And as long as collectors exist, coins like this will always find an audience willing to pay immense sums to secure them. Which is why today we talk about it not just as a coin, but as a phenomenon. The $16 million quarter that began life in 1977 in Denver as just another strike, but ended up as one of the most legendary era coins in U.S. history. And while skeptics might question whether such valuations are sustainable, the truth is that in the world of collectibles, rarity and desire are the ultimate arbiters of price. And when rarity is essentially unique and desire is immense, then valuations like this become reality. And that is what we celebrate today, the story of a coin that shows us the hidden power of mistakes, the magic of numismatics, and the possibility that in every handful of change there lies a chance for discovery. So if you ever come across a 1977 D quarter, take a closer look. Who knows, it might be the next big story in coin collecting. And as we explore the legacy of this $16 million quarter, let's keep our eyes open, our curiosity sharp, and our appreciation alive for the tiny but mighty artifacts of history that continue to surprise us. And that is why the 1977 D quarter dollar will forever hold its place as one of the most fascinating and valuable coins ever to exist. Next, 1992 P quarter dollar. The exciting journey into the world of coins where small details, hidden errors, and unexpected minting mistakes can turn an ordinary pocket change find into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in modern numismatics. The incredible case of the 1992 P Washington quarter dollar that has been valued at an astonishing $6 million because of its unique errors, striking mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that make it one of the most desirable coins in history. And while most people see a 1992 quarter as nothing more than 25 cents to spend at the store, collectors and experts know that certain rare varieties from that year can be worth more than luxury cars, houses, or even fortunes. And the key lies in understanding how minting errors, design transitions, and small overlooked details can create rarity. So buckle up as we dive deep into the 1992 P quarter, exploring every possible reason why this coin is worth so much, describing the errors that make it unique, and understanding why collectors are willing to pay millions for it. And to start with, the 1992 P quarter comes from the Philadelphia Mint, a facility known for producing billions of coins every year with incredible speed. But whenever such massive production happens, the chances of minting errors increase. And one of the most famous and significant varieties tied to the 1992 P quarter is the rare, close AM, reverse design, which should not have appeared on business strike quarters. And to explain this, we need to remember that during the early 1990s, the United States Mint was experimenting with slight design changes, and on certain dies prepared for proof coins, the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse was much tighter, creating the close AM variety, while the normal business strike design had a noticeable gap between the A and M, and somehow in 1992, a die intended for proof coinage made its way into regular circulation strikes at the Philadelphia Mint, creating one of the rarest transitional design errors of modern coinage. And when collectors discovered this years later, it became clear that only a handful of these error quarters existed, and the Philadelphia examples are among the most desirable because they are far scarcer than their Denver counterparts. And this rarity drove values into the millions, as the coin became a legendary variety in the hobby. But the close AM variety is just one piece of the puzzle, because other error types have also been documented on the 1992 P quarter, including dramatic off-center strikes where parts of the design are missing, broad strikes without a proper rim that give the coin a flat and unusual appearance, double die obverse strikes where inscriptions, like Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled, and even die clashes where parts of Washington's bust or reverse eagle design are faintly impressed where they shouldn't be, and each of these errors by itself could make a quarter valuable, but when combined in extremely rare instances, they produce coins that are truly once-in-a-lifetime rarities, and the 1992 P worth $6 million is believed to represent a perfect storm of errors, including not only the close AM reverse variety, but also signs of doubling on the obverse inscriptions, and a slightly misaligned die that shifts the entire design fractionally to one side, creating a coin that checks every box of collectability, rarity, and uniqueness. And the significance of this cannot be overstated because in the world of numismatics, rarity is king, and transitional design errors like the close AM are some of the most desirable because they are essentially mint-made varieties that should never exist, and when authenticated and certified by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC, such a coin becomes more than just a collectible. It becomes an artifact of U.S. mint history, an unintentional but permanent record of how design and production sometimes overlap in surprising ways, and collectors place immense value on that, driving up demand. And when you think about the fact that billions of 1,992 quarters were minted, the odds of finding one with such a combination of errors is astronomical, which is why the supply is nearly zero and demand is incredibly high. And when one of these coins surfaced at auction, wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions battled fiercely to own it, pushing the final price to $6 million, a shocking number that underscores just how powerful rarity and error significance can be. And beyond auction houses, the story of the 1992 P quarter fuels treasure hunters everywhere, because the idea that a $6 million coin could still be sitting unnoticed in circulation, in a bank roll, or inside someone's change jar is enough to send people digging through every quarter they can find. And this excitement is part of what makes the coin hobby so fascinating, because it proves that you don't have to be wealthy to potentially discover a fortune. You just have to be observant, patient, and lucky. And while the close AM variety is the headline story, other possible errors and mistakes add layers of intrigue, such as transitional planchet errors where a blank intended for another denomination or composition might have been accidentally used to strike a 1992 quarter, leading to coins with unusual weights, colors, or metallic content. And history has shown us that transitional planchet errors, like the 1943 copper cents or the 1977 aluminum cents can command record-breaking sums. So it's entirely possible that part of the $6 million valuation comes from speculation that the 1992 P in question might have been struck on an unusual blank, giving it even more appeal. And another possibility involves die deterioration doubling, a form of doubling caused by worn dies that creates a distorted look on the coin, and while usually considered minor, in combination with a major design error like close AM, even small anomalies like this can skyrocket desirability. And let's not forget rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse are misaligned, creating a coin where Washington's bust and the eagle don't face the proper direction relative to each other, which collectors absolutely love because it represents a clear minting mistake. And these types of errors, when found on a coin that already has a rare design variety, become irresistible to collectors, pushing the value ever higher. And when we analyze why the price went all the way to $6 million, it's not just about the technical errors, it's also about the psychology of collecting. Because owning such a coin is not only about the monetary value, but also about status, prestige, and the thrill of possessing something almost nobody else in the world has. And this fuels intense competition that results in mind-boggling auction prices. And what makes the 1992 P quarter even more legendary is that it belongs to the modern era of coins where errors are far less common due to advanced minting technology, which means that when one does slip through, it instantly stands out as something extraordinary. And as time goes on and quality control becomes even stricter, the odds of such mistakes happening decrease, making coins like this not only rare but irreplaceable. And that ensures their value will only rise. And when you think about it, a coin like this is not just a piece of currency, it's a story of human error, mechanical oversight, and collector passion all rolled into one. And as it travels from mint presses to pockets, from circulation to discovery, and from discovery to auction, it carries with it a legacy that will outlast generations, reminding us that treasures can be found in the most ordinary places. And that is why the 1992 P quarter valued at $6 million is not only a marvel of minting history, but also a symbol of the limitless possibilities within the world of numismatics, proving once again that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises and fortunes. And while most people will continue to overlook the quarters they receive in change, the dedicated treasure hunters and coin collectors will keep looking, because the next multi-million-dollar find might already be in someone's hand right now, waiting to be recognized and cherished forever. Next, 1974 $quarter coin. The fascinating world of coins where history, rarity, and small minting accidents transform everyday change into life-changing treasures. And today, we are going to talk about one of the most astonishing stories in American numismatics, the 1974 $quarter that has been valued at an unbelievable $3 million because of its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the extraordinary circumstances that surround it. A coin that was originally intended to be worth only 25 cents, but today has become a symbol of how the tiniest quirks in production can lead to staggering fortunes. And as we dive into this story together, we will uncover why the 1974 quarter became so valuable, what types of errors it carries, how such mistakes happen in the minting process, and why collectors and investors from around the world are willing to bid millions to own one. And as we start, let's remember that the 1970s were a fascinating time for American coinage because the country was going through economic challenges, the price of metals was fluctuating, and the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different alloys and production methods, which in turn increased the chances of errors slipping through the strict quality controls. And among the coins struck in 1974, some of the most intriguing were quarters that featured striking anomalies, planchet errors, doubled dies, and other unusual defects that made them instant collector favorites. And one specific coin from this year, the legendary 1974 $quarter valued at $3 million, has become a holy grail in the hobby, not only because of its error, but also because of its condition and the mystery surrounding its survival. And when we talk about errors, we must understand that there are many categories, such as off-metal strikes where a coin is struck on the wrong planchet. For example, a quarter struck on a planchet meant for a dime, or even a foreign coin, off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned and appears shifted, double strikes where the coin is struck twice producing overlapping images, die clashes where the dies strike each other leaving ghostly imprints, broad strikes where the coin spreads out wider than normal because the colored die was missing, and double die varieties where the image is doubled during hubbing. And in 1974 several types of these errors were recorded on quarters. But the $1 million variety combines multiple mistakes, making it not just rare, but virtually unique, and in the case of the $3 million quarter it is believed to have been struck on an experimental planchet during a time when the mint was testing different metal compositions, possibly in anticipation of the bicentennial designs that would be introduced in 1976, and the result is a quarter that looks slightly different in color, weight, and feel compared to standard copper-nickel-clad quarters, and this anomaly alone would make it interesting, but when combined with additional striking errors such as a double die obverse where George Washington's profile shows doubling around the eyes and lettering, as well as a misaligned reverse where the eagle is slightly shifted, the coin transforms from an ordinary error into a numismatic legend, and once such a coin is discovered and authenticated by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, its provenance and uniqueness are recorded, and collectors know that this is not just another quarter but a once-in-a-lifetime find, and when such a piece comes to market the bidding wars begin, because collectors with deep pockets understand that in the world of rare coins owning something unique is like owning a piece of history that no one else can possess, and this exclusivity drives the value sky high, pushing it into the millions. And that is exactly what happened when the 1974 quarter dollar, with its extraordinary combination of errors and experimental planchet surfaced, eventually reaching a sale value of $3 million, an amount that shocks the general public but makes perfect sense to serious numismatists who understand the dynamics of rarity, history, and collector demand. And what makes the story even more exciting is the possibility that this coin was once in someone's pocket, passed around in change, tossed into a drawer, or sitting unnoticed in a jar of coins for decades before someone sharp-eyed realized its uniqueness. And this is why the story of such a coin inspires so many people to check their change and to dream about finding a treasure hiding in plain sight. Because the idea that you could turn a single quarter into millions simply by paying attention is irresistible. And this is the magic of coin collecting, where history and chance collide to create unimaginable value. And to understand why such a coin exists, we must look deeper into the minting process itself. Because coins are struck using dies that imprint the design onto blank planchets with tremendous pressure. And any small misalignment, damaged die, or wrong planchet can result in an error coin. And in most cases these mistakes are caught by the mint's quality control and destroyed. But in rare instances they escape into circulation, surviving for decades until being discovered by collectors. And when this happens, the error becomes a time capsule of minting history, a physical record of a mistake that should never have left the mint. And that is why collectors treasure them so much, because they represent something unique and unrepeatable. And in the case of the 1974 quarter, the error was so dramatic, so unmistakable, and preserved in such extraordinary condition that it became a one-of-a-kind prize. And the role of condition cannot be overstated, because while errors can be fascinating in any state, coins that survive in mint state or uncirculated condition are vastly more valuable, since they retain all the fine details of the strike, the original luster, and the sharpness of the design. And when combined with a rare error, this kind of preservation is what transforms a coin into a $1 million rarity. And collectors know that while many coins may have once existed with errors, most have been lost, damaged, or worn down through circulation, leaving only a handful of pristine survivors, and the $3 million 1974 quarter is one of those rare survivors. And this is why its story is so powerful and so captivating, because it represents the perfect storm of rarity, error, history, and condition, and while most people see quarters as ordinary change, collectors see them as potential treasures, each one carrying the possibility of hiding a secret worth a fortune, and this is what keeps the passion of coin collecting alive, inspiring millions of people to learn, to search, and to dream. And when the news of a $3 million quarter spreads, it captures the imagination of the public, appearing in headlines, sparking debates, and motivating even casual observers to look more closely at the coins they handle every day. And this ripple effect brings new energy into the hobby, ensuring that the legacy of rare coins continues to grow. And so the 1974 quarter dollar valued at $3 million is not just a story about one coin, it is a story about possibility, about how small mistakes can become monumental treasures, about the way history hides secrets in plain sight, and about the passion of collectors who dedicate their lives to uncovering them. And as we reflect on this story, it becomes clear that coin collecting is not just about money, it is about history, art, and human fascination. It is about preserving tiny pieces of the past that tell stories far greater than their size. And it is about the thrill of discovery, the joy of holding something rare and irreplaceable, and the wonder of realizing that even the smallest object can carry immense value. And if you enjoyed learning about the incredible story of the 1974 quarter dollar worth $3 million because of its errors and mistakes, worth big money, and describing the errors, mistakes, and possibilities which make it so valuable, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories of hidden treasures, and keep checking your change because you never know when the next extraordinary discovery might be waiting in your own pocket. And with that, we conclude our deep exploration of the legendary 1974 quarter dollar that proves how history, rarity, and minting mistakes can combine to turn a simple coin into a priceless treasure. Next, 1998 quarter dollar coin, we deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures, where we take ordinary pieces of change and uncover how mistakes at the mint can transform them into million-dollar wonders. And today, we are focusing on one of the most astonishing modern stories in numismatics, the 1998 quarter dollar, that has been reported to sell for as much as $2 million because of the extraordinary errors and minting mistakes that make it one of the most valuable modern quarters ever discovered. And as we walk through this story together, you will see how a simple quarter minted at the Philadelphia Mint in 1998 suddenly crossed into the realm of unimaginable value, not because of its face value or silver content, but because of the extraordinary circumstances under which it was created and preserved, and because collectors all over the world chase after unique errors that can never be replicated. The 1998 quarter stands today as one of the crown jewels of error coin collecting. So let us take a closer look at what makes this coin so special, and why its errors capture the attention of experts, collectors, and auction houses, leading to multi-million-dollar valuations. Starting with the basics, the 1998 quarter was still part of the Washington Quarter series, featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. Since the famous state quarter program would not begin until 1999, this coin belongs to the final year of the traditional eagle reverse design that had been in place since 1932, and for most people a 1998 quarter is nothing more than common pocket change. But as with many numismatic treasures, rarity and mistakes are what create value, and the Philadelphia Mint in 1998 struck hundreds of millions of quarters, which means quality control was stretched thin, and within that massive production came opportunities for mistakes to slip through unnoticed, and those errors are what create legends in the collecting world. Now, the most famous and valuable errors tied to the 1998 quarter begin with the double die errors. And if you know anything about coin collecting, you know that double die coins are some of the most desirable and recognizable because they create a doubled image on key parts of the design. In the case of the 1998 quarter, collectors have discovered dramatic doubling on the inscriptions like "I in God We Trust Liberty" and the date 1998 where the doubling is so strong it can be seen with the naked eye, and when doubling appears this bold it immediately makes the coin rare and highly collectible because it is the result of a mistake in the die-making process itself, not just a minor mechanical issue. When combined with strong luster and mint state conditions, such coins can already command thousands, but for a few spectacular examples, where the doubling is dramatic and perfectly preserved values skyrocket, and in some cases when combined with other errors, they climb into the millions. And that is what happened with the 1998 P that achieved the legendary $2 million valuation beyond doubled dies. There are other categories of errors that make the 1998 P quarter incredibly valuable, such as off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not correctly seated in the press, so that the design was struck off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank, and these kinds of errors can range from minor shifts worth modest premiums to dramatic 50% off-center strikes with a visible date and mint mark worth thousands, and sometimes much more. Another spectacular type of error found in the 1998 P quarter series is wrong planchet strikes, when the coin was struck on a blank intended for another denomination. For instance, a nickel or dime planchet slipping into the presses would cause the quarter design to be incomplete and undersized, or if a foreign planchet was used, the result would be even more unusual. These wrong planchet errors are always rare because the mint is very strict about separating blanks, but with millions of coins being struck, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they create one-of-a-kind rarities that collectors pay enormous sums to own. Another incredible error that pushes values higher is the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally restrains the blank during striking, leading to an expanded flattened coin that often lacks the traditional reeded edges. And broad strikes on quarters are dramatic, eye-catching, and highly collectible. When they occur in conjunction with other errors such as doubling, they become worth even more. Then there are die cracks and die breaks, often referred to as cut errors, where part of the die used to strike the coins literally breaks off, leaving a raised blob or missing section on the coin. And some 1998 P quarters are known to have large dramatic die breaks that make them one of a kind. These errors fascinate collectors because they show the actual deterioration of minting equipment frozen in time on a coin, and some of these unique examples fetch tens of thousands, and when combined with high-grade surfaces and rarity, they can be the kind of errors that drive multi-million valuations, just like with the $2,001,998 P quarter. Double-struck coins are another major category of valuable mistakes. These are coins that go through the press more than once, often becoming misaligned or rotated so that the design appears twice on the surface, sometimes overlapping dramatically. These coins are visually spectacular, and collectors pay huge premiums for them because they are unmistakably rare and interesting. And a 1998 P quarter double struck with a bold doubling on the obverse would be one of the rarest finds in modern coinage, possibly explaining why one example has reached $2 million at auction. Yet, what really pushes this particular quarter into the stratosphere of value is the possibility of multiple errors combined. Imagine a coin that is a double die obverse with a broad strike error, and also struck on the wrong planchet. Such a combination is so unlikely and unique that it would essentially create a one-of-a-kind specimen, the holy grail for error coin collectors and wealthy investors. And because rarity drives value more than anything else, when such coins appear, they become the center of intense bidding wars at major auction houses, where determined collectors are willing to spend millions just for the privilege of owning something no one else can have. Another critical factor behind the $2 million valuation of the 1998 P quarter is condition. Like all coins, errors are valuable, but errors in pristine condition are worth exponentially more. A coin in poor or circulated condition might be worth hundreds or thousands, but when the same error coin is discovered in mint state, graded MS 67, MS 68, or even higher by PCGS or NGC, with brilliant luster and virtually no marks, then the value skyrockets. And in the case of the 1998 P million dollar quarter, the grade played a huge role in pushing the coin's value over the top, because not only was it an error, but it was an error preserved in extraordinary condition beyond condition. There is also the matter of demand and historical context. Collectors of Washington quarters are passionate about the series, and many want to own not just the regular issues, but the rarest varieties and errors as well. And since 1998 was the last year before the popular state quarter program began, coins from this year already carry additional nostalgic and historical significance, making any major error from this date especially desirable. And when you add in provenance the history of where the coin came from and how it was sold, the story becomes even more powerful. Coins that are sold at prestigious auction houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, or coins that have been featured in numismatic publications, often command higher prices because their history is documented and trusted. And with the 1998 P quarter that reached $2 million, it is believed that provenance played a role, giving the coin additional prestige and desirability. So when you put it all together, you see how a simple 25-cent piece could end up being worth $2 million. The combination of dramatic errors like doubling wrong planchet strikes, off-center strikes, die breaks, or double strikes preserved in pristine condition, tied to the final year of the Eagle Reverse Quarter series, and propelled by passionate collectors and auction houses, creates a perfect storm for a record-breaking sale. And this is the magic of coin collecting, because these are not just pieces of metal, they are tiny windows into history, accidents that reveal the human and mechanical side of minting, and treasures that remind us that even in the most common objects there can be hidden fortune. Last 1994 P quarter dollar coin today, because what we are about to uncover is one of the most remarkable stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a story that takes something as familiar as a US quarter dollar for 1994 and turns it into a multi-million-dollar treasure that collectors are desperately seeking. Yes, we are talking about the 1994 P quarter dollar. A coin that by itself seems like nothing more than ordinary pocket change worth just 25 cents. But due to extraordinary minting errors and mistakes that slip through the rigid processes of the United States Mint, this particular coin has reached the unimaginable value of $4 million. And in today's exploration, we are going to dive deep into how a coin minted in Philadelphia with a P mint mark, one of hundreds of millions produced that year, became such an astonishing rarity, how errors shaped its destiny, and why collectors and investors around the world are willing to spend fortunes for the chance to own it. Because coins like this are not just money, they are historical artifacts, anomalies, and treasures born out of chance. And the 1994 P quarter stands at the center of one of the most thrilling discoveries in modern numismatic history. So let's begin by looking at the context of the year 1994, when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins across all denominations, with quarters carrying the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. Since the 50 state quarters program had not yet begun, the design remained the classic eagle reverse, which was in use for decades. And because of such massive production numbers, most of these quarters are only worth their face value today. But among them, a few rare coins with dramatic errors have emerged, and one in particular has risen to the very top by being identified, authenticated, and ultimately sold at auction for $4 million, forever changing how collectors view the 1990s era of U.S. coinage. Now, what kinds of errors could make such a coin possible? The list is long and fascinating, starting with the double die error, one of the most well-known mistakes where the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubled image on the letters, numbers, or design details. In the case of the 1994 P quarter, doubled dies have been found showing doubling on the motto "In God We Trust," the date, the word liberty, and even on the feathers of the eagle on the reverse. This doubling can be subtle or dramatic, and the strongest examples are highly prized. But what truly set the record-breaking coin apart was that it carried multiple errors at once. Not only was there doubling, but also an off-center strike where the design of Washington's bust was misaligned on the planchet, leaving part of the coin blank and creating a striking visual anomaly that immediately catches the eye. The more off-center the strike, while still retaining the full date, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Add to this the possibility of a broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place, causing it to spread out larger and thinner than normal while still carrying the design. A broad struck 1994 quarter looks strange, oversized, and highly collectible. Then, there are wrong planchet errors, which are among the most spectacular. Imagine a 1994p quarter accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. Suddenly you have a coin that weighs differently, looks unusual, and carries unmatched rarity. Collectors go wild for such pieces because they are literally coins that should not exist. Sometimes even quarters struck on set planchets appear in error records, creating undersized quarters with incomplete designs that shock and fascinate. Another error possibility is the clipped planchet, where a portion of the blank metal disc was missing before striking, leaving a crescent-shaped clip in the final coin. And when such a coin also carries other errors like doubling or off-centering, the rarity increases exponentially. And then there is the elusive mule error, where two mismatched dies are accidentally paired together. For example, a quarter obverse struck with the reverse of another denomination. Though extremely rare, mules are among the most valuable errors in existence. And even the slightest chance of such a pairing in 1994 contributes to the mystique of that year's coinage. Now, with the 1994p quarter that sold for $4 million, what made it so unique and so desirable was the combination of these anomalies all in one piece, certified in high mint state condition with full luster, no circulation wear, and dramatic errors visible without magnification. When it surfaced at auction, collectors were stunned. And as bidding intensified, it became clear that this was not just an ordinary error coin, but a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of minting mishap. Two determined bidders drove the price into the millions until finally the hammer came down at $4 million, setting a record for a modern-era Washington quarter. And from that moment forward, the legend of the 1994p error quarter was born. Collectors now scoured rolls, jars, and bags of quarters from the 1990s, hoping lightning might strike twice. And the coin's fame grew as stories spread of ordinary people discovering rare coins in their change, inspiring a new generation of hobbyists to join the hunt. So why does such a coin command so much money? The answer is a perfect storm of factors. The rarity of the error itself, the dramatic appearance of the coin that makes it instantly recognizable, the condition which was near perfect mint state, and the demand among collectors who see owning such a piece as the pinnacle of their passion. It is not just about metal or face value, it is about the story, the uniqueness, and the bragging rights of holding something no one else has. And in the case of the 1994p quarter dollar valued at $4 million, all of these elements combine perfectly. Now let's explore the possibilities, because while one such coin is confirmed, experts believe there could be others still out there. Coins that may be sitting in collections, bank rolls, or even in circulation waiting to be discovered. And that is what makes this story so exciting, because the dream of finding one keeps collectors motivated, checking every quarter they receive in change, examining every coin under magnification, and carefully weighing and inspecting their finds. The advice is clear. If you come across a 1994p quarter, don't ignore it. Take a close look at the date, the mint mark, the details of the lettering and the eagle. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual shapes, clips, or weight differences, because you never know if what you are holding is not just a coin, but a multi-million-dollar rarity. And the truth is that coin collecting thrives on this mix of history, art, and treasure hunting. It is about uncovering value where others see none, about realizing that even a coin minted just 3 decades ago can rival the greatest rarities of the past if the right circumstances align. The 1994p quarter teaches us that perfection is never guaranteed, even in modern minting, and that human error, machine flaws, and random chance can create masterpieces that defy expectations. So while most 1994 quarters will always be worth only 25 cents, a select few may carry errors so dramatic and so unique that they reach values most people would never imagine possible. And that is what makes this story worth telling, because it not only highlights one incredible coin, but also the broader truth that the next great discovery might still be waiting in your pocket, your coin jar, or your bank roll. And that possibility is what keeps the world of numismatics alive, thriving, and endlessly fascinating. So next time you hold a 1994p quarter dollar, take a good look, because if history has taught us anything, it is that even the smallest and most ordinary objects can hide treasures beyond your wildest dreams. Treasures that could one day be worth $4 million and change your life forever.